Hi, everyone. Welcome to our first lesson on inflation. So as a place to start, what we want to do is understand the reasons behind inflation, the why. We know it happens. We know that it happens every year, and we know that it will always happen. But the key question is, why is it there? So in inflation, there are three key factors that influence how much there's inflation every year and those years that we see spikes in inflation. So the first reason is a demand issue. If you think about this as people pay more to go to the Super Bowl than they do a regular season football game, people pay more for opening day than they do a regular baseball game, right? That's demand. There's more people that want to go to the Super Bowl, so ultimately it drives up the price of the ticket. It might have a face value of $25, but if it's the Super Bowl and your favorite team's in it, you're going to be willing to pay $300-$400 for that same ticket, right? So that inherently is inflation. And if you think about it in terms of pricing, if you think about an Apple iPhone, like that part of inflation is really driven by consumer behavior, what people want. Starbucks coffee, as much as we might say it's way more expensive than just a regular cup of coffee, that there are people willing to pay that. So that's demand-driven inflation. The second one is what we call a cost push or a cost-influenced inflation. This is driven by scarcity. This is driven by the cost of production, especially for you restaurant owners. This is what you see the most, right? I have to charge more for my pizza because it costs me more to make the pizza, and I can't sell it for $9.99 if it costs me, $15 to make it. And so ultimately I have to raise my prices because my costs are becoming more expensive. When we look back at COVID, this is really what we saw a lot of, right? We saw that because wages were going up very quickly during government subsidies, things like that, that because of supply issues, that ultimately your costs were going up. And so therefore you had to increase your costs to your consumers, which inevitably caused the steamroll of inflation. The third one is sort of that built-in inflation. And that's just the idea that if everyone who works for your company thinks that they're going to get a raise next year of 3%, right? That just drives this sort of base level of inflation that you should make more next year, and so should everybody else. The one that, sort of just sneaks up on us, that 1 to 2 to 3% can be going. But where we want to go with this is, as we learn more about what we call inflation, we can be better able to predict it, right? We can be better able to see when inflation is going to start to spike. And ultimately, then we can start to be proactive rather than reactive. So if we look at today's environment, but if we watch the news, we learned a lot about tariffs and international negotiations. And that sounds very similar to like supply chain issues, right? So inherently, what we know to be true or can predict to be true would be that if you're the Cisco of the world or the US Foods of the world, you're probably going to start to be proactive on your pricing because you don't want to be caught in the hot potato of inflation negotiations or, supply chain negotiations. So because you know that your goods that are coming from Mexico or Canada may have tariffs, you may start to increase your prices proactively, right? And there's no rule that says you can't. It's just what people are willing to pay. And as the next in line for those strawberries or foods meats coming from Canada, whatever it is, you're gonna be willing to pay more for the strawberry because you know that there's something that could be coming in terms of tariff as well. So it's both the supply and demand, right? It's what you're willing to pay. But if everybody who's selling strawberries is going to start to increase the price of strawberries because they are protecting themselves against the hot potato game, then you're not really going to be able to say, okay, I'm not going to buy your strawberries because I'm going to go buy them from someone else because everybody raised their price at a similar time. So that's where what we're seeing today is probably a mixture of 1 and 2, where sort of this demand idea is out there, but also that supply chain idea is out there as well. So ultimately, where that leaves us as sort of the middle person, right? In the restaurant industry, the one who is buying the food, but we're also preparing it for our customers, is now you have your own question of, should you now raise your price, or is there something we can do in the margins to make sure that we still can get to our bottom line, but also can have our prices stay the same? And that's where knowing more and understanding more about what's going on the macroeconomic level can really help us make the best decision. Because what we don't want to do is raise our pizza to $30 and nobody's willing to pay $30 for our pizza, right? But if everybody raises their price to $30, then we don't want to be the last one to do it either. So as much as we want to, sort of live on our island, we do need to understand a lot of this economics that goes around, because it really does impact our business on a daily basis. So hopefully this helps, and I look forward to seeing you on our next episode.